Hey there, everyone. Self-Aware Score is back in session. I'm super pleased to be joined by Joe, who had an awesome time hanging out with recently at the National Coaching Awards. And it was so lovely for us both to win awards on the night as well with our little award buddy. But Joe, yeah, welcome to Self-Aware Score.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, you just took me back to the celebrations of winning the awards. We met the year before as well, didn't we? That's
Yeah,
how
we
we
did. Well,
met,
we didn't get a
Rosie.
chance to hang out as much, did we? But we kind of
Oh,
gravitated towards each other this time, and it was so lovely
yeah.
to be sat with you. And you were the first person to give me a hug after winning my award as well, even though you were in the same category, which I thought was very, very gracious. But you ended up winning an amazing Human Impact Award, which
Yeah,
one of the
phenomenal.
special the night. Yeah, such a cool
Yes.
time. But anyway,
Yeah.
you're our guest teacher for today
Yeah.
for Southwest School, and you've supported so many people with their mental health over the years. Can you just
Yeah.
give us a short version of you, how you got into this work, and what it is that you do today?
Yeah. I got into this work through my own life events. So I had quite a stressful management role. And that involved managing 120 staff and a £2 million budget. So I used to carry stress like a great big badge of honour. And then I had lots of life events happen. So mainly illnesses and deaths that happened around me. So I cared for my dad and lost him to cancer, and I'd lost my step parents, my stepdad and my stepmom as well. And also my job was at risk of becoming redundant. However, the caring side was more important to me. So work became quite an unhealthy place for me as well. So I coped, I coped by carrying on regardless, which is not the best way to cope. So I was a bit like on the hamster wheel. I say it's like being Superwoman, carrying on, putting my big girl pants on and throwing them over them tights and carrying on. And my way of coping actually was to work even harder, throw myself into work and party even harder. So my partner's a DJ and I was just burning the candle at both ends. So I that filtered into the week. I'd called my second bottle of wine in the week when things were getting tough and burning a candle, as I say, because what I then do in the morning is have Red Bull, which is like anxiety in a can anyway, to get me going. So I'd have 2 cans of Red Bull on my way to work. So yes, so that was my coping strategy, is to ignore it all. So this is a bit of a don't do that. If you're noticing it, do something about it. So that then led to I had chronic fatigue syndrome. So my body, that's what I was diagnosed with. So my body just shut down first. I was bedridden for 3 months and it was like an old lady overnight. Then I got general anxiety disorder where I was just anxious about anything and everything. And that's when I had my first bipolar manic episode. So I experienced psychosis, where that's hallucinations and delusions and just lose touch with reality altogether. So I was sectioned back in 2013 and then again in 2015. So it just hit me, didn't even know what bipolar was, psychosis. So yeah, I didn't learn. I did it twice. So the first time I went back to work, got back into the rat race through it all again. And then the second time I made changes, and that's where it started to lead to where I'm leading to now.
Awesome. And where are you now? Tell us more about what you're doing, what that led to, what those changes led to.
Oh, just a massive, for me, it was quite a spiritual calling. So when I became well, the second time around, when I came round, I had a bit of a spiritual calling that this was my life purpose. And I was already training to be a coach because I loved developing people. And I knew needed to change my job. And I just loved developing people. So it was a bit like this became my passion and my purpose. I know it sounds cheesy and some of the stuff I say might sound cheesy, but
It
it
doesn't at
absolutely
all. I
just, yeah.
completely identify. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the NLP coaching at the time that I was doing. So neuro-linguistic
Mhm.
programming and coaching. And it just became a game changer for my own mental health. So what happened then is the co-founder of the company called Simply Changing asked me if I could be a case study as part of my wellness as I got well and weave that into a CPD and also the NLP master practitioner and practitioner courses. So I'm highlighted throughout the course of how it can be used for mental health and also for other coaches to be confident working with people experiencing mental health as well. So yeah, it's a joy just making that lasting, meaningful difference to the lives of others. That's what it's about for me. I wake up every morning with a smile on my face. I do that one-to-one predominantly. I also have a membership. When I've got time, looking to set up some group work as well. And yeah, I also do some work for local charities and national charities because it's a bit like giving back and it's important to me. So I do some work, for example, in prisons for a charity called Spark Inside. They're based in London and we're working within prisons within the East Midlands now where I am. So yeah, it's just a really nice passion project.
Yeah, nice big mix. I remember us talking about that, and yeah, it must be so tough, but extremely rewarding.
Definitely.
Now, a lot of the women that I work with, I imagine that listen to this podcast, especially like founders, creatives, people building something, but also quite a lot of neurodivergent people because I tend to attract quite a few of them. Really, anybody can get stuck in their own heads, but I tend to notice it a lot with the women that I work with, a lot of anxious thoughts, worst case scenarios. Why do you think it's such a common experience? And do you see it more so in women and maybe women of a certain nature?
I think we're all as human beings are wired up to keep ourselves safe. So a lot of the things you talk about is, for me, from my opinion, is we're going to a survival or a safety mode. So, for example, change is uncomfortable. Our ego is going, keep us safe. And our inner critic starts talking to us, oh, you can't do that. You won't do that. The fear of the unknown. Brain loves to fill in the gaps. So it's like the what if kind of thoughts. What if this happens? What if that happens? It's just keeping us safe again. Worst case scenario is, again, it's if I think the worst case scenario, then again, I can be safe because I felt of the absolute worst case scenario and I've got my brain to think about how I can work around that. But actually, sometimes I just get stuck in the worst case scenario rather than the solution.
Yeah.
And also, an interesting one is we take things personally. We're wired up to take things personally. So that kicks in with what do other people think? What are they going to think about me? If somebody says something, oh, I can't do it then. It starts to tie into the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I think there's always fears around everything that people, it might be fear of failure. One of mine's fear of success. Because I'm quite manic, I have to be really grounded. So I think a lot of this is just us being humans and the way we are wired up. And that's okay. But actually, it can be overdone because we don't necessarily need it all the time.
No. And I think that I know before it's certainly helped my clients when I help them see that it's not like lack of capability. It's not them being weak. It's not otherwise. If they're avoiding something or overthinking about something or being so stressed that they don't even want to go into work or their business, let's say it's not that they don't have what it takes, it is ultimately fear. Like I say, it's keeping themselves safe. It's that threat to the nervous system. And I think if you can help people understand themselves in that way, that it is about the hardwiring just working and being a little bit too efficient and seeing those threats, then they can understand that, oh, this isn't because I'm just a worrier, or like I say, I don't have what it takes, or let's say I'm really worried about, you are worried about what people think of you. But yeah, I think having that distinction can be quite helpful sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think that people often misunderstand about their thoughts, especially those anxious or negative ones?
See, I work on, again, it's the NLP model. There's a communication model and it makes sense to me. So it's the life events happen. So for me, the first thing that happens is the life event happens. And that then generates the thought process starts to come in. So the thoughts will come in if they're good or bad, or, whatever the thoughts are, they're going to come in anyway. That's just how it is. So we've not almost got a layer there. So I call it, it's like the stoppers. So I call it our bouncers. So the best way of describing it is a thought comes in and at the minute we haven't got bouncers there going, oh, I'm going to make a value or a judgment about that thought. I'm just going to let you in anyway. Just come in. That's fine. And then your mind, your nightclub or pub becomes a little bit messy with all sorts of different thoughts because they just come in. So actually these bouncers are just letting anyone in. You're not saying your name's not down, you're not coming in.
They're wearing, they're coming in.
They're coming in. What actually then happens behind that, because our bouncers aren't there, we do have convincer filters. So we do make subconscious processing of information because we have 11 million bits of information coming to us every single second. And it's phenomenal when you think about it. So if we had that, it would just be overwhelmed all the time that was coming in. So we take on 7 to 9 bits of information every second is about what we can take on. So our brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes a lot of information. And that's also based on our experience, our values, our belief systems, and lots of other things that it's running in the background. It's like a little computer, a little program running in and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do with that. And we all then have our own map of what looks like, our own map of the world, our own reality of how we see things. So that then starts to affect our emotional state. It might be something, a good thought that makes us feel happy because we've had this experience. It may be, and then it starts to affect our physiology, our body response. So this is for me a big mind-body connection, mind, body, gut, all the rest of it is connected. So our body responds and our behavior starts to shift as well. So this goes back to if a thought comes in and we feel a threat, we're not doing anything with that. It's just coming in, I'm feeling threatened. And then quite quickly, before we even think about it, our body's already responding because it's
an automatic thing.
It's an automatic, yeah. So when it comes to negative thoughts, the thing is they're going to come in anyway. But what we can do is start to build our bounces up.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily about people misunderstand their thoughts. It's not about thinking, oh, I must get rid of them. I must be a more positive person. It's more, no, you just need to learn how to manage them because they're coming no matter what. It's just more how you learn to regulate your mind and your body to manage them. Is that?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and it is a lot of the work I do is about retraining the brain, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along in the podcast. And it is, we can start, if we push them away, they come back. It's like going, go away. Actually, it's something about acknowledging it, going, you're keeping me safe, thank you. Actually, I don't necessarily need you that much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because like I say, otherwise you just repress them. You don't actually ever process them. You don't reason with them. It's like,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of an analogy as good as your bouncer one, but it's like always pushing away like an elastic band or something. It's always going to snap back eventually, unless you cut it or you stop it from stretching. God, my analogies are bad, but hopefully that landed with somebody.
and this is the thing, the deeper work will go into the events potentially to clean up the events. So some people may want to do that because actually the events in the past may have still be sitting there. And so there is an important part of that. And even though there's a distinct difference from therapy to coaching, if we're working with the past, it's always to move forward. So it's looking at patterns, understanding them, working with memories, but from a place of self-kindness, self-compassion.
Yeah. I often say that to some of my clients that there's part of coaching, there does have to be a certain amount of retrospect because we have to understand what those belief systems and fears are in order to be able to rewire them and move forward.
Yeah.
When we were chatting about this podcast episode, you were talking to me about for you, it's your rainbow archway framework, but I know it's different for different people. Can you walk us through what that is and how it helps people understand what's going on in their mind?
Yeah. So, mine is a rainbow only because it resonates with me. Rainbows are very prominent in my life and they've come up. And again, there's quite a spiritual aspect to that, but the archway can represent anything. So it's called the overdone strengths model. So what we're looking at with that is if you imagine you have an archway in front of you, and on the right-hand side of your archway, and I'll get clients to write these down most of the time unless they don't want to, we can just imagine it, and you write down everything on the right-hand side that's an overdone strength. And when we say overdone, even the word overthinking has got over in it. It's something that doesn't serve us well. So this is the side that doesn't serve us very well. We would explore your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, stress levels, energy levels, all that type of thing that's going off there. So it's bigger than the thoughts. It's everything else that's going off there as an individual. And then what we do is spend lots of time on the lovely side that serves you well and focus on, it's almost like the positive opposite of that. I call it's a bit like flipping your mind switch to start to focus more on that side, because our brain will start to pay attention to that as well. And we can start to live more in that side. So generally would write that down if people like to, and map it out almost and put a bit of a microscope over it and go, okay, this is here. Bring all that awareness up, subconscious stuff as well, bring it up, and then bring it to life. So bringing it to life can be really useful. So that, say if I said you'd lost that piece of paper tomorrow, that you can access it. And so, for example, my rainbow is really bright on the lovely side that serves me well, but the side that doesn't serve me so well, it's a little bit duller, not really appealing. There's a bit of distance from it, so that I can start to become aware. It's a bit like self-regulation. I can start to regulate myself. And it takes practice until it becomes part of who you are. You can then, this is what I was talking about, stop when your stoppers in place to be in that side of life. And your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviours in that side of life, and be living there more. So some people's archway, I've had everything from, and I love people being creative. It could be anything from a temperature gauge to a weighing scale so that they're balancing. It could be, I've had a driving instructor and they've revved their engine too much. It may be, I've had a firefighter and it's like putting the fire out on one side and this side. It might be a mountain, a hill, and on one side it's rainy and a bit drizzly, and the other side it's beautiful and sunny. So we just play around with that and make it personal. It's very bespoke, and people just create whatever they want to. It may not be visual. It may be have sounds to it or energy to it.
Just depends on the
different.
Just
definitely.
Yeah. And then you talked about those stoppers, like the tools that people use when their thoughts start spiraling. Can you share a couple of those, like how they would practically do that on their little archway or whatever that might be?
Yeah, there's loads.
Or maybe one that people can try today if it feels.
Yeah, like I say, this is like it's a visual, and it's like a trusted compass and a compass, and it's like awareness is everything, and that's what it's about. And it's about recognizing it and going, okay, I've got choices here, and I can start to shift to that side. So the stoppers are actually building new neural pathways in your brain as well, so they become more lasting. So I work on the fact that your brain's made of plasticity, and you can build new pathways. So the stoppers, for example, the bouncers, they're the interrupting the pattern. They're the retrain your brain. So just a few examples is there's the ABC, but I've got a client who calls it the ABBC, which I quite like. So the ABC is that it is about being aware of everything. So it's the pattern. I'm aware of this. I'm aware of that. The B is the breath and take a step back, so you can start to think about it. And the C is the choices. Now, the extra B is the Bridget Jones moment. So it's a bit like I'll have my awareness. The B is, I'll have my Bridget Jones moment because I just need to sit with this a bit, and which is totally cool because it's not about pushing it away. And then breathe in and then thinking about your choices. So I quite like the Bridget Jones ABBC. The other thing is going back to events. So we might have life events going off. I think we spoke, Rosie, I've had quite a lot going off in my life recently, and it's just changing the events around us a little bit, or noticing the different events around us. So you've probably heard of glimmers. So I call them the mini magic mojo moments. It is the gratitude attitude. So it's tapping into that reticular activating system, the RAS system. So your brain notices more of that stuff around you. And it could be practical stuff. So the stopper could be as simple as just stopping, pausing, bit of self-care. I'm a big advocate for self-care. And another one is the power of self-talk. And it's the power of 3 for me is our brain remembers things in 3s really well. So one thing I do that's really helped me is when I talk and shift my rainbow, I thank it for keeping me safe because I'm acknowledging it. And then I say, but you're not serving me anymore. And this serves me. And then it lets my brain go through the process, focusing on that. And I mentioned the what ifs, for example, when we're in that, what if this happens? What if that happens? We can go down a bit of a rabbit warren, worries. And before we know it, we're right down there. Another way of shifting it is, again, using the power of 3, of thinking of 3 resourceful what ifs. What if this? What if that? What if that? It just starts to shift those thoughts in a different direction.
So like a what if, more on a positive side.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Where I am now, I've got 5% of my house is a flat roof, and it leaked, and the old me spiraled into the, oh my gosh, what if I'm not insured? Of course I'm insured, but what if I'm not insured? It went to, oh my God, I felt the walls. What if it's gone all down the walls? What if my house is going to fall down? It went that quickly. So I went that way. So to shift it, I've retrained my brain to not go into different what ifs. What if I am insured? What if I get a good trader in? And that trader's actually done lots of the work for me. What if, what's the chances, reframing it, what's the chances of my house falling down? It's probably, I don't even know if one's fell down in Britain or in the world from a little bit of rain coming through a roof. So it's just, yeah. And then it goes to gratitude, because then you go, what if I've got a roof over my head because it's raining and some people haven't got that even basic need.
So it's just those things to change your perspective from, like you say, disasterizing, catastrophizing, and just making it think another way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So for someone who feels like their thoughts just take over and they really do struggle to control them, what do you feel is the first shift that they need to make? Because it's not necessarily about controlling every thought, is it? Because as we've said, that isn't necessarily possible. So what do you think is the first shift they need to make?
Yeah. So what's probably already happened, if people are already at that stage, they've probably already had their life events. So they've probably had something that's happened out of their control. So it could be illness of other people, their own, death, relationship breakdown, job loss, could be absolutely any life event, could be even past traumatic events, or just something major that's changed. And it is about how we respond, behave, and feel to those things to start to accept and to bring peace. But for me, what tends to happen when the thoughts are taken over already, we're perhaps already feeling this in our body. We've gone from the thought to the body. So for me, it's starting to work with that change that's taking place there. So our body will produce the stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. The stress hormones will kick in, and that's where our bodies starts getting anxious. You'll feel it in your chest, you might feel it in your stomach. Mine's particularly my stomach when I felt anxious. And that's just how body responding to the situation. Now, it might, like myself, it prolonged over a long space of time because I was just like, nah, I'm not having you. I'm just going to carry on regardless. I'm fine. So it just cropped up in other ways. So I became unwell, and I'm a big believer that if you don't listen to your body as well, you can become unwell. One thing for me would be to create more of the happy hormones in life, so we can tap into those, like your dopamine. That's your reward chemical, where you can celebrate the little things, listen to some music, do something new or creative. And then there's your serotonin, which is the mood regulator, where you can spend, like your mind spending time in nature with my dog, getting a good night's sleep. And your thing may be meditation or yoga or whatever that is. And then the next one's the endorphins, the pain relief. So I'd be looking at the body stuff to start to slow that down. So the pain reliever of endorphins is the exercise, having a good belly laugh. And even things like, I like dark chocolate. So if I feel I need a little bit of a pick me up, then I'll go to some percent plus dark chocolate.
Yeah. I love 70% plus. I'm normally an 85% girl.
Oh, are you? Love it. Oh, no, it's a bit bitter for me. I can just take maybe 80, but 85's over edge. So yeah, no, and then the last one's my favourite one. It's the oxytocin. It's the love chemical. So it's just spending time with people, your friends, family, just doing nice things for other people can make us feel really good. And it's that connection. So just maybe having a hug or holding hands or stroking your dog or cat or whatever it is for you.
Trying to first shift is trying to balance out some of those negative feelings with some of those positive chemicals, which are really easy things that people can do from home.
Yeah.
Awesome. So why this matters then for self-worth, if we bring it back to the self-worth thing, obviously that's the topic we're talking about. How do you see all of this linking to confidence and self-worth? Because from my perspective, when somebody doesn't trust their thoughts, or they're overthinking, or they're lacking that kind of self-trust, they start to doubt themselves more generally, or maybe it's the doubt that is causing the overthinking and vice versa. But yeah, how do you see all this linking to confidence and self-worth?
I think it goes back to that safety thing again. I want to be safe. The things I was talking about, we go for a change or the fear of the unknown, worst case scenarios, what other people think, am I going to fail here? So we work around all these things. And to me, that's where the inner critic can start to be really unkind. We start to have those limiting self-beliefs. So it's actually then what ifs turn into ourselves. What if I'm not good enough? Can't do this. What will they think? Compare and despair. Look at what other people are doing because they're doing it better than us. Social media's got so much to answer for. So yeah, I think most people who come to me, I'd say 90% come to me because they've been experiencing anxiety, and it goes hand in hand. Confidence, self-worth, it just goes absolutely hand in hand. Even when I've been at my most unwell, your confidence just hits rock bottom. That inner critic's just really, really unkind. So, as you know, well, Rosie, a way to flip that is to start to build up. For me, the brain needs lots of evidence to believe things to be true. So I've got I use a belief tree and start to build new beliefs, and the roots are like the evidence to make that tree really sturdy. Rather than focusing on, so for me, it's like focusing on the goal. So it might be I've come in, I want to feel calm, confident and happy. So it's that evidence of when have you achieved that before? Who do you know who's achieved it? If they can't get that internally, they might externally need that. Or how is it even possible for the future? So they absolutely go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it's not very often that people come in and they don't want to work on their self-belief as well, because it just eats away at it.
Yeah, for sure. And what changes for someone when they start feeling more in control of their thoughts? Like the transformations that you start.
Yeah, the transformations are phenomenal. To me, it doesn't matter how small or big those changes are. And it is absolutely just working with that person's outcome, what they're wanting. And I use the word calm, confident, and happy quite a bit because the key words that come up, we all want to be happy, we all want to be confident, we all want to be calm. And I'm focusing on, for example, anxiety, I'm focusing on calm. So for me to even be beside someone and be on that journey of watching them, whatever it is, whatever they're wanting to achieve. And I always say you'll know when you've got something, and just watching them and knowing they've got it, you can you'll see them from session one, even the difference within them and the face, even the face lighting up, but absolutely massive transformations from people wanting to end their own life to living a full life of purpose. So yeah, I've worked with people from 8-year-old to 87, and everybody's different, and that's what I love about it. So yeah, and the bigger picture is there's 7 key areas and themes that I've noticed. I call them the building blocks. So there's like mental health, it's like top of the blocks because I'm out there as the mental health coach. People feel stuck. Goals are important within coaching anyway, because people want to know where they want to get from to. And then I call the mojo with Joe Roe, the motivation, because people, again, it's that feeling stuck and not feeling motivated. Confidence then becomes a big part of it, like you mentioned, how it relates. And then it can be the other things like work. They've come not because they're anxious, but because work's created the stress or the anxiety, or relationships. I do a lot of relationship coaching, and they may have come because they're feeling stressed or anxious. Again, it's the actual relationship that the work goes into, rather than, don't get me wrong, there's the mental health coaching side of things, but it's actually working on the other stuff. And lifestyle changes, things like eating, sleeping and exercise. I know it's a bit boring, but they're the fundamentals of life. And I'm a big believer that life's all about balance. I mean, it's each person finding their own balance and what's right for them. And it's just a privilege to be part of that.
Yeah. When you're saying the changes that you see in people and how they show up, I can definitely identify with that. I think often working with some clients, even just the way they speak and carry themselves, even when you're like coaching them on Zoom or whatever, you can just see the change in like how they show up. They just look like they're smiling more. They look like brighter. Their shoulders are lower. Like I said, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves does just shift and change. And I think it must be a similar thing that you see in that kind of physicality of even just how people carry themselves and how they speak, and seeing that calmness, confidence, and like I said, that happiness increase. And knowing that you played a part in shifting someone, especially like you mentioned there, from going to want to take their own life to feeling like they're living a happy, purposeful life. It must just be so incredibly rewarding, hard, I imagine. Like, how do you balance your energy? Because I'm working obviously with women with maybe a lack of self-worth and confidence, but I wouldn't say it probably gets anywhere near as heavy for the most part as you do. How do you manage balancing your energy with that?
I like to go there, if that makes sense, in some respect. But I've never been afraid to go there, if that makes sense. I've always been okay. I'm comfortable with it, is what I would say. I'm always comfortable with what comes to my table. Like I say, I'm working in prisons. It's quite a heavy environment, a lot of trauma there. So I'm already comfortable with it. What I do with my energy, so for example, if I go to prisons, I always have a bath afterwards. It's like a bit of
A ritual.
Cleansing myself a little bit, yeah. And it's like when I see clients, what I do is I can dissociate because that it's them. It's like I'm passing it over to them. It's not me. I'm not taking
You're not absorbing that.
Yeah. And I am an empathetic person and I'm mindful of that. So that's something I've had to work on, it's almost pass it over. We're not responsible for the outcome almost. Yeah. So that's the thing that's always grounded me, that people, they've got the answers within, but also they're responsible for the outcome, what actions they take. So I do almost have to dissociate myself sometimes, but also I'll have a breather in between and I can go and grab a cuppa or whatever it is. Then even in the sessions, I'll slow the sessions down if need be. They don't need to be intense or anything like that. It's not therapy we're going into. So there's a lot of break state within that, a bit of chit chat, just to lighten the sessions, because it's about having fun as well. It's not just about sitting there in the deep stuff. Yeah. But I feel like I can protect my energy quite well. And I've got my little NLP tricks as well. If I've got a big, bold light that I put around me that protects me and things like that. So, yeah.
That's lovely. So then, for those listening, particularly those that are resonating with some of the stuff that we've talked about today, like the one thing or one message that you would want for them to take away from this conversation, if nothing else, what would you want them to remember?
I find that a tough question. So good question. And the reason I do is because we're all different and each outcome is different for each person. So I know I'm giving it back, but it's a bit like whatever resonates with that person today, whatever something I've said or you've said, something may have just hit and resonated. And maybe that's the bit that your brain's gone, oh, I'll pay attention to that. Or, oh, yeah, I'm hearing that. So there is the mind and the body connection and how that's linked. So it is about, I don't know, I'll get a headache, or it's listening to it early on. So it's being able to shift those and notice those. So it's awareness again. It's just awareness is everything. And also the power of how we talk to ourselves in that place of kindness. So yeah, I think it's whatever has resonated with that person. I know it's probably whoever's listening out there, it's a bit of a cop out maybe, but I think if it's landed with you, it's landed with you.
Yeah, and I don't think it's cop out necessarily, because you have also said awareness is everything, and you've mentioned that a couple of times. And really, it's just being aware of your awareness, aware of what has resonated with you, something that's meant, something that's felt aligned. So yeah, I think it is just down to that awareness piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is there one simple practice? We always ask them to give people a bit of homework. So is there a simple practice or a tool that they could try this week to start feeling more in control of their thoughts or anxiety?
Yeah. Again, it's that I'm going to go back to the basis of maybe self-care or the happy hormones. And it is that power of the pause, because we all know to do it. But when we're in that place of stress or anxiety or unwellness, it's a bit like when we're busy, it's a bit like the pause goes out the window. It's the first thing to go out the window. So to me, it is literally pressing pause on it. Imagine you've got a remote control, press the pause, and bit of a plug here, but I have got a Hug in a Mug, a workbook that people can access from my website. And that's all about filling up your own mug. So you can, and there's just 26 questions, or there may be more or less now, I don't know. But it's just for you to create your own Hug in a Mug, and it's all around self-care type of practices. So even though I've talked all about all this other stuff, I think that it's sometimes we know it, but it's sometimes the hardest, easiest thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, lovely. And we'll share that hug and a mug link in our show notes, because I think we mentioned that would be something that could be lovely to people. So if you're happy to, Joe, we'll share that in the show notes for anybody that wants to have a go at that.
Yeah.
So final question then, just bringing it back to your lovely self. What's something that you still have to manage in your own mind, even with all the work that you've done in this space? Is there anything you still have to manage
Yeah.
those?
All the time. Yeah. It's so for me, stress is an early warning sign. That's like my big alert. So things as subtle as, so if I go back to the eating, sleeping and exercise, they're like something as simple as I'm eating toast in the morning instead of my smoothie. If I've done that 3 times in a row, I'm rushing around and I'm just not spending any time nourishing myself in the morning. And don't get me wrong, I love some Lurpak on my toast and I will have it at weekend. But if I'm doing it, something's changing. It's that awareness again. Sleep. And then probably overthinking. My mind's going over things. I'm not sleeping or I'm waking up. I'm not doing the things I usually enjoy, like dog walking. So I know the sort of things what happen to me when I'm stressed. So when you ask the question, what work do you do? It's a daily thing. It's an absolute daily thing. So for me, I live a slower pace of life. I have to live a slower pace of life. It's very balanced. I usually don't start work till 10. I'll take my dog out for a walk. And it's just whipping out it's a practice what I preach a little bit. I'm whipping out my own tools and techniques and just working on my own toolbox. Some of it's embedded within me. It's part of who I am, but also I need to remind myself and get those things out. And also I've got a lovely supportive network of people, my lovely little vibe tribe around me and vice versa. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing to stay well. When I've stayed well for 10 years, and don't get me wrong, life is up and down, but it's how I manage that roller coaster of life.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe, for your time today. It's been such an awesome episode. I'm sure we could chat even longer, couldn't we, really? But I know that so many people would have found it useful, not just to listen to you from a coach perspective, but also listen to your experiences as well. So huge thank you for being a guest today.
No, thank you for the invite. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Rosie.
So there you are, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. What I really love about this conversation is that it takes away some of the shame around anxiety and overthinking, because so many people just think, why can't I switch this off? Or why am I like this? Or what's wrong with me? When actually a lot of these thought patterns are human. Like we said, it's your brain trying to protect you. The problem is it just sometimes gets a little bit too good at spotting danger and worst case scenarios. And I think Joe explained so well that the goal isn't to become someone who never has anxious thoughts, because that wouldn't be possible. It's about learning how to notice them earlier, respond differently, and stop them completely taking over. So if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. You are not your thoughts, and you don't have to believe every anxious story that your brain tells you. So if this episode resonated, please do share with someone who might need it, especially someone who's been hard on themselves lately. And if you're listening and thinking, this is exactly where I'm stuck or something that I experience, we've put Joe's Hug in a Mug resource in the show notes. You can also connect with her and follow her there. And if you want any more information around my one-to-one coaching or the relaunch of my membership, you'll have details in the show notes for that too. I've also got a really great free Telegram channel where I share tips, insights, inspiration on a daily, just a really uplifting, motivating place. So I'll leave a link to that too, and I will see you in the next lesson. Have a great day.